Parliamentarians debate a compendium of bills that amends requirements for mandatory company seals in the execution of a contract, an independent MP slamming the government, and a record of COVID cases. Good evening, everyone. I'm Lissy Bastian with your JCN News for this Wednesday, December 2nd. Thanks for staying with us. A compendium of bills debated in the lower chamber this morning, 5 bills in total, and they include a bill for an act to amend the Companies Act to remove the mandatory requirement of a company seal and to make new provisions for the execution of contracts, a bill for an act to amend the International Business Companies Act 2020, a bill for an act to make provisions with respect to the manner of execution of deeds and other instruments and for collected matters, a bill for an act to amend the rules against perpetuities, Abolition Amendment Bill 2020, and Foundations Bill Amendment 2020. Leading off debate this morning was Yamacraw Member of Parliament Ellsworth Johnson.
We in government are committed to doing all that is necessary to ensure that doing business in the Bahamas is not a challenge. My ministry is focused on this as a matter of priority, especially as it relates to immigration. Mr. Speaker, the bills before us have been drafted after completing the necessary benchmarking. We look at other jurisdictions and can inform this House that the United Kingdom, until modern statutory reforms in contract law, a seal was widely recognized by courts in common law jurisdictions as removing the need for consideration in a contract. Over time, this requirement was removed as it can be quite challenging to execute documents where the seal may be in a different jurisdiction from the contracting parties.
He says the same approach was taken with regard to companies and other legal entities, adding that other jurisdictions like the British Virgin Islands and the Cayman Islands have taken similar actions.
Mr. Speaker, we are answering the call of industry stakeholders to follow the trends, remain competitive, and make it easier to do business in the Bahamas. Mr. Speaker, the other bills before us seek to clarify existing law and remove ambiguity. We all know that certainty is critical when selecting a jurisdiction for international financial services. Hence, today we're bringing certainty to several pieces of existing legislation.
Now, the rule against perpetuities abolition bill clarifies the existing law as it relates to the abolition of the rules against perpetuities and the disposition of interest in property and trust. Lastly, the Foundations Amendment Bill amends Section 4 of the Foundations Act to make clear that a foundation under this act created for a charitable purpose may benefit persons anywhere in the world. Member of Parliament for St. Anne's, Brent Simonet, in seconding the bills, notes that the financial services industry is at the moment the country's leading industry because of the pandemic. That said, he says that this has kept the country in the economic forefront around the world.
So here we have the bills today, the rule against perpetuity. That's a very important bill for many people who try and use the trust vehicle. So we have, for instance, the common law jurisdiction here, which relies on trust law quite a lot. Now, it'd be interesting to know, a lot of times we sit here and talk about the Bahamas. Delaware actually uses trust law as a way of protecting assets for generations to come of not only offshore citizens, but also American citizens, so that they can use certain provisions of Delaware law to protect their assets for generations to come. So when we talk about perpetuity, this is the period, as the Honourable Member from Yamacraw mentioned, whereby the assets may deem or may fall or may deem to become outside of the gift and vest back into the original owner. And that's the last thing you need to happen.
He says this is important so there's no misunderstanding about when, what, or if a trust comes to an end. The compendium of bills were passed by House members. Well, Golden Isles Member of Parliament Vaughan Miller slamming the minister's administration on the recent groundbreaking ceremony of Carmichael Village, which took place this past Monday. Mr. Miller lamented that he was not invited to the ceremony, which took place in his constituency.
Mr. Speaker, on Monday past, 2 days ago, the most honorable member from Galani, along with the member from Marathon, in their capacity, Mr. Speaker, they were in the constituency that I represent, and there participated in a groundbreaking ceremony for a new subdivision called Carmichael Village, which is historic. Carmichael Village. Mr. Speaker, I have no objection to the ceremony. What I object to, in the strongest possible terms, Mr. Speaker, is the blatant lack of respect that was shown to me, the sitting member of Parliament. Not only was I not invited to attend the ceremony, I was not even extended the courtesy of being informed regarding the same. Mr. Speaker, to that, I take grave offense.
Mr. Miller contends that it has long been a practice that when a government minister or official is visiting a constituency in the execution of official duties and responsibilities, as a matter of courtesy and respect, that the sitting member is notified in advance or invited to attend or participate and is expected and accepted, and says he's not aware nor been informed that this practice has been discontinued. He further contends that he was not appointed as the MP for Golden Isles, but was elected.
Mr. Speaker, we are supposed to be honorable men and women in this honorable institution. Our behavior and our actions should therefore reflect the same. The Bahamian people expect us to not only bear the title, but to act as such and to be honorable in all areas, especially while doing the people's work.
Mr. Miller says parliamentarians must rise above petty politics and, in his opinion, spiteful, vindictive actions, adding that it was disheartening to see the leader of the party unfazed that he, as the MP, was not there. Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis officially broke ground for Carmichael Village, which, once developed, will accommodate single and multiple family housing, as well as community parks and common areas for residents. Just 2 cases of COVID-19 confirmed for the country on Tuesday, a record drop in cases since the pandemic reached the shores of the Bahamas in mid-March. Health officials confirming the 2 cases, a male and female, are here in the capital. The total confirmed cases in country now stand at 7,543. With 45 recoveries on Tuesday, the active cases tally at 1,388, 16 of which are hospitalized and considered moderately ill. There are no cases in intensive care units at this time. Recovered cases now stand at 5,934, and the death toll remains at 163. 201 tests were completed yesterday. 192 came back negative. 6 of them were repeated tests, and 1 had inconclusive results. A total of 43,794 tests have been completed to date. The nightly curfew in New Providence, Grand Bahama, Eleuthera, Exuma, and Abaco has been extended to 10 p.m. This according to the latest revision of the emergency powers orders published yesterday. Additionally, restaurants will be allowed to operate utilizing indoor and outdoor dining at a maximum seating capacity at 50%, with persons seated at least 3 feet apart. Now, no public or private social gatherings are permitted on the islands of New Providence, Abaco, Eleuthera, and Exuma at this time. In fact, anyone who hosts or attends a social gathering commits an offense. The host will pay a fine of $2,000 and $300 for every guest in attendance, and attendees will be subject to paying a fine of $300. You're watching JCN News. When we return, court systems going automated with payments, and the DRA has a multi-million-dollar shortfall. Stay with us.